What if the moon suddenly disappeared in 2026? It's March 2026. You're scrolling your phone at 11 p.m. when the notifications start flooding in. NASA confirms the moon has vanished. You step outside, look up, and there it is. Or rather, there it isn't. Just a dark, empty patch of sky, stars, where the moon should be, the most familiar object in the history of human civilization. Gone. No explosion, no warning, no goodbye. Just absence. You might think, okay, nights will be darker, it'll be fine. But science tells a very different story. Because losing the moon doesn't just mean losing our nightlight. It means losing the gravitational core that holds our entire world together. The first 24 hours, within hours of the moon vanishing, the oceans would already be changing. Right now, the moon is responsible for 70% of Earth's tidal force. Lose the moon, and tides shrink to less than a third of what they are today. Gone are the massive 40-foot tidal swings. Gone are the powerful currents that feed coastal ecosystems. What remains are quiet, weak solar tides, barely a whisper of what we once had. The world's major port cities, Rotterdam, Singapore, Shanghai, Mumbai, would feel this immediately. Ships that carry 90% of global trade need specific water depths to dock safely overnight. Port schedules around the world would be thrown into chaos. And out in the open ocean, tidal mixing, the process that brings cold, nutrient-rich water to the surface, would slow dramatically. That mixing feeds phytoplankton, the tiny organisms that produce 50% of the oxygen we breathe. In just 24 hours. The moon's disappearance threatens the very lungs of our planet. The first weeks, nature breaks down for millions of species. The moon isn't just a pretty light, it's an alarm clock, a compass and a calendar. Every year, coral reefs across the world perform a mass spawning. Billions of eggs released simultaneously, timed perfectly to the lunar cycle. Without the moon, this synchronization breaks down completely. Coral reefs support 25% of all marine species and feed over 1 billion people. Losing coral reproduction is the beginning of a marine collapse. On land, sea turtles that have navigated Earth's oceans for 100 million years use moonlight to find their birth beaches. Without it, they arrive disoriented, confused, lost. Migratory birds that fly at night lose a critical navigational reference. Hundreds of species thrown into disorientation. In just a few weeks, the natural world's most invisible connections are already breaking apart. Months later, the Earth wobbles. The moon doesn't just create tides, it stabilizes our world. Earth spins on a tilted axis, 23.5 degrees. That tilt gives us seasons. Seasons made agriculture possible. Agriculture made civilization possible. Without the moon's gravitational grip, Earth's tilt becomes vulnerable to nudges from Jupiter, Saturn and Mars, nudges that slowly build into an unstoppable wobble. We have a perfect example in our solar system, Mars. Mars has no large moon. Over millions of years, its axial tilt swung wildly from near zero to over 60 degrees. This wobble helped turn Mars from a potentially life-sustaining world into the frozen, barren desert it is today. Without the moon, Earth faces the same fate. The human cost. Within 48 hours of the moon's disappearance, an emergency session of the United Nations would convene. Every major space agency would redirect its resources. Scientists would be baffled. How does a moon-sized object vanish without a single shockwave? In Bangladesh, flood risk assessments would begin immediately. In Miami, coastal engineers would be on emergency calls. In the Maldives, islands just 1.5 meters above sea level, even a subtle ocean shift could be catastrophic. And across the Islamic world, an immediate spiritual crisis would emerge. The Islamic calendar is entirely lunar. Ramadan begins with the sighting of the new moon crescent. Without the moon, how do Muslims observe their holiest month? Emergency councils would convene in Mecca, Cairo, Istanbul. Similar questions for Jewish communities, for Hindus, Buddhists, pagans, for indigenous cultures on every continent. The moon is not just a rock, it is the backbone of human spiritual time. What the moon really means. Here's the thing about the moon. We've taken it for granted for our entire existence as a species, but it turns out the moon isn't just a passenger on Earth's journey, it's a partner. It stabilizes our seasons, it drives our tides, it stirs our oceans, guides our animals, shapes our cultures. It inspired our first calendars, our first religions, our first poetry. Without the moon, Earth is a different place, a harder place, a lonelier place. So tonight, if you step outside and see it hanging there in the sky, give it a second glance. Not as a distant rock, 384,000 kilometers away, but as the ancient, silent guardian that has kept the small blue world alive for 4.5 billion years. It earned that second look, and if it were gone tomorrow, we'd spend the rest of human history wishing we had appreciated it more.